welcome to my channel. My name's Kelly and I'm here today to film my top 5 books of 2016. I am filming this a few weeks early because my next week is going to be fully taken up with my final assessment of the trimester, which is the one I've been dreading the most, and then immediately after handing that in I'm flying to Spain to spend Christmas with my mum, so I won't have these books to hand then either. So better film it now, I decided. I only read 30 books, well I have only read 30 books so far, and when I say only, I'm not dissing your number if you have read 30 books or less, it's just that I am accustomed to reading more than that, even though I have to admit for the past 2 years I haven't. I've been under 50 for the past 2 years and that doesn't feel right, so I always compare against my previous reading self, even though to be honest I guess I just had more free time then, so maybe that's not my reading self anymore. Maybe I need to change that perspective. Nevertheless, these are my top 5 books of 2016. So the very first book I read this year has made it onto this list, and it is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, which I have spoken about in a video before. You will find this book in the self-development or self-help aisle of your bookstore, which is unfortunate because I know that's going to put a lot of people off. And it shouldn't, to be honest, because although there is a lot of dross in that aisle, there is also pure gold, and this ranks among that. I so loved this book. It is about creative living, but it really dispels that image of the tortured artist. It talks about the martyr, who is the tortured artist, who maybe goes down in history in a blaze of writing glory, but they've also got a tragic backstory, which is maybe even more famous than their creations. And then she also talks in terms of the trickster. The trickster is someone who knows how to balance this dual perspective of this creation is the most important thing in my world, but also it doesn't matter, it's okay, it doesn't matter, and she conveys that much better than I am right now. So I think the example she uses is the trickster is Bugs Bunny while the martyr is Thomas More. I want to be Bugs Bunny, I know that much. And she also talks very irreverently about the subject, which is quite refreshing because people tend to talk quite spiritually about creativity, but she's got F-bombs in here, and she also has an entire chapter devoted to shit sandwiches. She's saying that every pursuit always comes with an accompanying shit sandwich, so you might as well do something that you truly, truly love so much that you might even enjoy those shit sandwiches. And she says that she loves writing so much that she will eat other people's shit sandwiches. This is really good. I can't really do it justice, I don't think, but I recommend it wholeheartedly. Next up, in May, I read one of my most anticipated books of the year, which was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I'm almost reluctant to speak about it because everyone has spoken about it so exhaustively already. I loved this book. I really, really did. It's one of those ones that I was propped up in bed against my pillows, I was reading it like this, and I would just close the book and squeal because this was pure wish fulfillment and fangirl fodder, similar actually to my reaction to Ignite Me by Tahera Mafi. When I was reading that, I was doing the same thing. Genuinely not saying it for the sake of the video, just closing it so I could go "Wah!" like that because the excitement had to have a release. If you haven't read this series, the first book is called A Court of Thorns and Roses and is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It starts off with a girl called Feyre who is a huntress and hunts to feed her starving family, and one day she kills a wolf she really shouldn't have killed, and as a result she is taken into the kingdom of the Fae and brought into the household of a man called Tamlin, who is the beast in the story. But it evolves so much. That first book is kind of in 2 halves, and the second half, my god, Feyre suffers so much, and I picture more suffering ahead, and I am really worried about the third book having finished this because I feel like there's something that I'm going to have to wait a long time for, and I don't want to because having had this, I don't know if I can. But having said all that, I did have like a couple of minor issues with it. I do think that Sarah J. Maas is an amazing author because she's so prolific and she gives us what we want, which I'm grateful for. But she does fall back on some lazy language. For example, she refers to Rhysand's position as the most powerful High Lord of Prythian ever born many times, and when she gets into her sexy scenes, because there are many and I really enjoyed them, but she does fall back on this sort of Mills and Boon bodice ripper Regency novel thing of talking about the man's penis in terms of repetitive phrases like his considerable length or his considerable girth, the length of him, and it's like, oh, I don't know what I want her to say, but I just sort of rolled my eyes at those moments. But Reese. Yeah, Reese. Next up, I finished The Winner's Curse trilogy by Marie Rutkoski. This is book 3, The Winner's Kiss. And I have no idea why this trilogy is not read and spoken about by more people on YouTube. It is among the best YA I have ever read. The writing style is easily up there in the best, and it is better, in my opinion, than S.J. Maas's writing. I'm not saying I enjoyed it more, but the writing is superb, and the plotting, to be honest, is possibly faultless. The author is a professor of Shakespeare, and it shows in her very twisty plots where you as the reader have this bird's eye view of the character machinations, and you are watching the web tighten, especially in book 2, which is painful because you're so aware of what is happening and could potentially happen. If you don't know this trilogy, book 1, The Winner's Curse, is about a girl called Kestrel who is the general's daughter in this ruling class of people called the Lorians, I think. And 2 years previous, they won in a war against these people whose name I forget, but they have subjugated these people, and these people are basically enslaved. One day, Kestrel bids on a slave called Arryn at the market, and everything starts there. There is a romance in this book, but it may be the most unique YA romance I've ever read, because often if you lay YA romances over each other, they have the same landscape, the same peaks and troughs. This one is so different, and there is so much more standing between these people. Sorry about that, my camera cut out. As I was saying, there is just so much standing between Kestrel and Arryn that you really don't know what's going to become of them. And although this is a fantasy trilogy, it's low on the fantasy and high on the politics and the warfare, and the writing is superb. My fourth favourite book I read in June ahead of the Legend of Tarzan film with Alexander Skarsgård, because I wanted to read the book first. The book is Tarzan of the Apes by Edgar Rice Burroughs in one of those wonderful word cloud classic editions, which are really soft and supple, and rather than white, the page is more sort of ivory cream coloured. It's really beautiful to hold and behold. This was so much fun to read. This is a good idea for people who want to read more classics but just view classics as being very stuffy, because this is fun. I also think that we've lost the ability to judge classics. We think that any classic is high literature and any writing that is dated must be high literature also. This was pulp fiction, you know, this would have been considered more of a guilty pleasure read of the day. And it's definitely got its own tropes. And if we're talking about modern literature giving women unrealistic expectations of men, this does the same thing, because Tarzan is wonderful. He's essentially a superhero. He's incredibly fast, incredibly strong, incredibly smart. Not so much book smarts, although he is self-taught in a way that I found vaguely unrealistic. But he's just canny, like he intuits so much. He's wonderful to read. And this is a letter that he writes to Jane. I am Tarzan of the Apes. I want you. I am yours. You are mine. We live here together, always in my house. I will bring you the best of fruits, the tenderest deer, the finest meats that roam the jungle. I will hunt for you. I am the greatest of the jungle fighters. I will fight for you. I am the mightiest of the jungle fighters. You are Jane Porter. I saw it in your letter. When you see this, you will know that it is for you and that Tarzan of the Apes loves you. See, there's just, he's grown up in a jungle, so there's no affect. Wouldn't it be nice to date someone where there were no games? And honestly, there are so many swoony moments in this that you will fangirl. It is so good. My fifth and final favourite book of 2016 is a collection of poetry. It is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, which had a similar effect on me to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I was so inspired after reading this that I immediately wrote several poems, and I don't write poetry. This was just so accessible. It made poetry seem so friendly and doable that I had to, and we can all find ourselves in this collection. The topics include love, loss, grief, abuse, femininity, feminism. It is beautiful, and as I said, very accessible style, quite a loose, almost scrappy style, non-traditionalist, illustrated, and these are best read sort of privately to yourself as just these shared intimate nuggets that someone is giving to you. I don't want to read them out loud because I feel like that dilutes the impact of them, and I found them very impactful. So if you want to find out for yourself what Rupi Kaur is all about, follow her on Instagram at @RupiKaur_, and you will know far better than my readings of her poetry would possibly convey. Those are my 5 favourite books of 2016. Let me know in the comments down below what your favourite books were. I always like to have a chat about those, and I'll probably end up picking some up because I can't say no. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like if you did, and follow if you want to see the next one. Thanks very much, guys. Bye!